You know how some places just feel steeped in history, like you can almost hear the echoes of the past?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's the feeling you get with Waterford, down in Ireland's southeast. It's this incredible city with layers upon layers, Vikings, medieval times, the whole lot.
It really is.
So today we're going to really dig into Waterford's story, look at what made it tick, using the historical info we've gathered.
And we've got quite a range. Our sources cover a huge span, from the very first Viking settlers right up to Waterford in the 21st century.
Sounds great.
Yeah, we'll be looking at its names, which is fascinating in itself, key historical moments, its cultural side, like the famous glassmaking, and where it stands today.
Okay, let's start with those names then, because having two names, Waterford and Port Lairdge, that immediately signals something interesting is going on, doesn't it?
It really does. Waterford itself takes you straight back to the Vikings. It's from Old Norse verivextere.
More. What does that actually mean?
It translates, believe it or not, as Ramfjord.
Ramfjord? Seriously? What?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sources don't spell it out. Maybe the shape of the harbor. Or some local legend about a ram. It definitely paints a picture, though.
It really does. You can just imagine those Viking longships pulling into this Ramfjord. Okay, so what about the Irish name, Port Lairdge?
Port Lairdge means Larag's port.
Larag.
Yeah, Larag. Now, who Larag was? Well, that's a bit lost to time, unfortunately. Our sources don't tell us. But it strongly suggests there was an Irish presence, maybe a port there already, associated with this person.
So even before the Vikings really dug in.
Exactly. It hints at a history before the history we often start with.
So this mix of cultures is there right from the very beginning, baked into the names. And the Vikings weren't just passing through, were they?
Oh, definitely not. I mean, there was an early settlement around 853, but yeah, that seems to have fizzled out by about 902.
Okay.
But then they came back in 914, and this time it was serious. Leaders like Otir Iarla and later Ragnall Ua Ymer and his whole dynasty major players.
Uimer, right.
That's them. And they essentially established what's often called Ireland's first city in Waterford. We even know names like Ivar of Waterford, a key ruler later on.
Ireland's first city. That's a pretty bold claim. What did that mean back then?
It likely refers to its scale, maybe its fortifications, its organization as a center for trade, for power. It wasn't just a camp, it was a proper urban settlement, foundational for what came next.
Right, setting a precedent. Okay, let's jump forward a bit. The Anglo-Normans arrive. That must have been another massive shift.
Huge, absolutely huge. You had Diarmaid Mac Murchada trying to take the city in 1167 and failing, interestingly. Shows Waterford was already quite strong. But then he comes back in 1170, this time with Strongbow and his mercenaries. After a siege, they took it. And that really pulled Waterford into the whole Norman invasion story.
And it was clearly important strategically because King Henry II himself landed there.
He did, in 1171. That's a major statement. He landed in Waterford and declared both it and Dublin to be royal cities.
Ah, okay. Royal cities.
Yeah, though Dublin was named the capital. Still, it instantly boosted Waterford's status within that new Anglo-Norman setup.
And this is when Reginald's Tower comes into play.
Exactly. Built right after the invasion, apparently on the site of an older Viking fort. But significantly, they kept the Viking name Reginald's Tower.
That's interesting, keeping the name.
It is, isn't it? And it's also one of the first places in Ireland where they used mortar in the building. Shows those new Norman construction techniques coming in. It's like a physical symbol of that layering Viking foundation's Norman structure.
A real bridge between eras. And our sources say Waterford stayed Ireland's second city after Dublin, all through the medieval period. That's quite a long run.
It really speaks to its lasting importance, doesn't it? Economic strength, strategic position for trade, defense. It had a lot going for it.
But it wasn't always smooth sailing. There were sieges in the 15th century.
Right. Challenges from figures like Lambert Simnel and Perkin Warbeck, pretenders to the English throne. They both besieged Waterford.
And Waterford held out.
They did. Successfully resisted both times. And that resilience is precisely where its famous motto comes from.
Yes. Urbs intacta mane Waterfordia.
Meaning, Waterford remains an untouched city. It was King Henry VII who granted them that motto as a reward.
Imagine the civic pride in that after fending off serious attacks. Untouched.
Exactly. It probably meant more like unbroken or unconquered in spirit, a real badge of honor for their loyalty and toughness. It became part of the city's identity.
Okay, so moving past the medieval period, Waterford gets caught up in the big conflicts of the 17th century, its role in the Confederation of Kilkenny, for instance.
Yes, as a prominent Catholic city, it was a key player in the Confederation between 1642 and 1649. Big political and religious implications there.
Which inevitably led to trouble when Cromwell arrived.
Indeed, the Cromwellian reconquest was brutal. Waterford faced 2 sieges before Henry Ireton finally captured it in 1650. Must have been devastating.
You'd think so.
And then later that century, during the Williamite War, after the Battle of the Boyne, it surrendered to the Jacobite forces. So another change of hands, a really turbulent time.
Yet somehow the 18th century is described as a boom time. Prosperity, lots of new architecture. How did it bounce back?
Well, perhaps a period of relative stability helped. Trade likely picked up again. People invested in the city. You see these grand buildings going up, reflecting a new confidence maybe.
Makes sense.
And you also get a permanent military base, the cavalry barracks, built late in the century. Still seen as strategically vital.
Okay, into the 19th century now. We see defensive structures again, those Martello towers on the Hook Peninsula, Napoleon jitters.
Quite possibly, yeah. A common defense measure around the coast at that time. But the 19th century is also massive for Waterford's industry. Glassmaking and shipbuilding really hit their stride.
Waterford crystal, instantly recognizable.
Absolutely iconic. Founded back in 1783. There was that sad closure in 2009, a real blow.
I remember that.
But thankfully, the visitor center reopened, and some production started again under new owners in 2010, right back in the Viking Quarter. It just shows how deep that craft runs in the city's identity.
It really is part of the city's soul. And the shipbuilding. The Malcolmson family, that sounds like it was on a huge scale.
Oh, it was astonishing. Mid-19th century, the Malcolmsons' Neptune shipyard ran the largest fleet of iron steamships in the world.
Seriously, the whole world.
That's what the sources indicate. Including transatlantic passenger ships, it put Waterford right at the cutting edge of global shipping and technology back then. Imagine the docks.
Incredible, a global powerhouse in shipping. We also see John Redmond representing the city in Parliament for a long time.
Yes, from 1891 to 1918. Leader of the Irish Parliamentary Party, central figure in the whole Home Rule movement, shows Waterford's continued role in national politics.
And then, like much of Ireland, it saw conflict during the Civil War.
It did. In July 1922, there was fighting in Waterford between the Free State forces and the Republican troops. Another difficult chapter in that transition period.
So it's just this incredible journey. Vikings, Normans, medieval power, sieges, religious conflict, industrial highs and lows, political change.
It's an amazing tapestry, isn't it? And that brings us sort of up to date. Today, Waterford's still a major center. It's the 5th biggest city in the Republic.
Right, and the main city for County Waterford. Over 60,000 people according to the last census. Still thriving.
Definitely. And its location is still key. Yeah. Waterford, Harbour Loch da Chouch, or Quanfort Lairge in Irish, and the River Soar, they've been the city's lifeline for, well, over 1,000 years.
And that meeting point of the 3 rivers nearby, the Suir, Nor, and Barrow.
Guamarna Tintriuse.
The confluence of the 3 waters. Beautiful name, isn't it? It underlines that connection to the waterways. Waterford Port has been one of Ireland's most important for literally a millennium.
From Viking ships in the Ram Fjord to container ships today.
Precisely. The sea and the river are just fundamental to its story. So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've seen the Viking roots, that medieval resilience captured in the Urbs Intacta motto, its part in huge moments of Irish history, the legacy of glass and ships, and its place now as a modern city.
It's a place where you can really feel those layers of time.
Definitely. It makes you think, doesn't it? How one city can hold so many different stories, so many cultural footprints.
It really does. And maybe it prompts you, our listener, to wonder about the hidden histories lying just beneath the surface of the places you know well. What stories are waiting to be uncovered there?